I've spent 12 years studying how wealth actually gets built in America, and what I found is uncomfortable. The advice the wealthy follow and the advice they give you are two completely different things. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So let's start with a simple question. Look at the 400 wealthiest Americans. How did they actually build that money? Because it wasn't a mortgage. Bezos didn't make $150 billion owning a house. Buffett didn't hit $100 billion paying down a 30-year loan. These people own equity, stocks, pieces of businesses that generate cash every single day, whether they're working or sleeping. But here's what's wild. When these same people, their advisors, the bank executives, the finance guys on TV, when they talk to you about building wealth, the message completely changes. Suddenly it's buy a home, build equity, it's the safest investment you'll ever make. Same people. Totally different advice. And I just want you to sit with that. Really sit with it. Because once I started running the actual numbers behind both of these paths, I realized this wasn't just different advice for different situations. This was something else entirely, and the numbers are going to show you exactly what I mean. Two people, both 25, both have $500 a month to work with. Person A does everything right, saves up, puts $60,000 down on a $300,000 home, gets the mortgage, builds equity, lives the dream. B just quietly puts that same $500 every month into an S&P 500 index fund, rents an apartment, doesn't stress about it. 30 years later, who's wealthier? Almost everyone says person A. The house feels real. You can touch it. But here's the actual math. Person A's house appreciates at the U.S. average of 3.5% a year, with around $840,000 after 30 years. Sounds amazing, right? Now add up what they actually spent. Mortgage payments, $648,000. Property taxes, $84,000. Maintenance, repairs, insurance, $90,000. Total out of pocket, $822,000. On a house worth $840,000, they barely broke even in 30 years. Person B, $500 a month. S&P 500, 30 years, 10% historical average, $1,130,000 on $180,000 invested. And they never dealt with a broken furnace, never got an HOA violation letter, never paid a surprise $12,000 roof replacement. Now, I already know exactly what just hit your brain. But rent is throwing money away. And look, I completely understand why that feels true. That phrase is so deep in American culture it almost sounds like a law of nature. But it is the most expensive lie the middle class has ever been sold. And I'll prove it in a minute. But first, I need to show you why wealthy people actually need you to believe it. When you take out a $300,000 mortgage at today's rates, over 30 years you'll pay back around $718,000. The bank made $418,000 off your dream. On day one, they won. Not you. But it's bigger than just the bank. When millions of middle-class families lock their money into homes, that money goes frozen. It's sitting in walls and flooring and a backyard you use on weekends. It's not compounding. And here's what that means at scale. That money is not in the stock market. It's not funding businesses. It's not building real financial power from the bottom up. And a middle class that owns equity in American business, that's genuinely dangerous to concentrated wealth at the top. But a middle class with $400,000 locked in an illiquid asset. Predictable, stable, manageable. Now again, I'm not saying it's some coordinated conspiracy in a boardroom somewhere. It's just incentives. Decades of systems quietly built to benefit certain people more than others. And the phrase that holds the whole thing together, renting is throwing money away. 5 words that have cost the American middle class more wealth than almost any financial event in history. So let me kill that myth right now. Renting is throwing money away. Okay, let's actually look at what renting quietly gives you. That $60,000 down payment, still invested, still compounding, still growing. Move cities for a better job, just go. No realtor fees, no 6% exit cost. No waiting 8 months for your house to sell. Warm roof leaks, call the landlord. Water heater dies on Christmas Eve, not your bill. Foundation cracks, not your problem. And here's the number that actually ends the argument. In most major U.S. cities right now, the monthly cost of owning versus renting the same property The gap is $700 to $1,500 per month. A renter who invests that difference consistently comes out ahead every time. Curious researchers at Florida Atlantic University have been tracking this for years. In most U.S. markets today, renting and investing beats buying on pure wealth building. And look, I'm not saying never buy a home. A home gives you stability, community, roots. Those things genuinely matter, but those are emotional returns. What's not okay is calling it your greatest financial investment when the math keeps saying otherwise. So if that's the reality, what are wealthy people actually doing with their money instead? This is the part of the video I built everything toward. Every person I've studied who built real wealth from scratch, not inherited, built. They ran basically the same quiet playbook, and honestly, it's almost frustratingly simple. In their 20s and early 30s, they rented, kept their life lean, invested aggressively into broad index funds, started compounding as early as possible, because time in the market isn't just important, it's the entire game. Every 10 years you wait to start investing cuts your final number roughly in half. Read that again. They only bought real estate when the numbers made sense, not when their parents said it was time. Not because their friends were buying. When the math, in that specific market, at that specific rate, actually worked in their favor. Or they bought rentals, where someone else covers the mortgage every month. They never tied their entire net worth to one liquid asset. A house you can't quickly sell in a downturn isn't a safety net. It's a trap with a nice kitchen. They separated home from investment. A home is where you live, where your family grows. That's real, and that matters. But the moment you start calling it your retirement plan, you've stopped building wealth and started hoping. And the last one, the one that quietly does most of the heavy lifting, on its way. They owned broad market equities early and held them for a long time. Not crypto, not individual stock picks from a Reddit thread. S&P 500, total market funds, boring, diversified, patient. Nearly 10% average annual return for almost 100 years. Through the Great Depression, World War II, 2008, COVID. Every single time, it rewarded the people who stayed in. The wealthy have known this for generations. They just never really rushed to tell you. Look, buying a home is right for your life, your family, your situation. Genuinely do it. But make that decision with real numbers in front of you. Not a slogan someone invented to sell you a mortgage. The wealthy aren't smarter than you. They just got the real rules earlier. Now you have them. Do something with it. And if this changed how you see things even a little, send it to one person who's about to make a big financial decision without this information. That might be the most valuable thing you do for them this year. See you in the next one.